little symbolism there for a few people who might notice. But it's another beautiful day here in Portugal, and there's the beautiful almost full moon. Let's see, can I pick that out for you? I don't know if you can see that now. Anyway, it is 3rd of September. It's been a while since my last video. The world continues to change at a pace that is, well, in some senses, Cosmo, in some senses, glacial, the change, and in other senses it's just incredible how much it's all changed. Oh, I have a little surprise for you. Did I tell you that Jack had joined us here in Portugal? Jack, the transporter from the Globe Light Tour. He had to crush the white car that he put stickers on. You might have seen that one, but he did this one before coming here. My car is absolutely busted up. I did someone a favor the other day, drove to Lisbon, 500 odd k's round trip, and she is in a bad way. We're hoping to go to England sometime soon. Hey Cosmo, this is Cosmo. This breed is known as a Estrella. Big dog, very big dog, very lovely personality too. Dan and Vanessa's dog. Yeah, it is for anyone, for most people, I would say, a huge leap to leave the Matrix. Some people make that jump, that leap to leave the Matrix fully equipped. Others don't, or others leave less well equipped. But I think for everyone it's still a tough journey, a challenging journey, a learning journey that one needs to take. But in some ways, it's like you don't necessarily have to take a journey like the one I've taken, in the physical sense, to be in a different country. Although I have to admit, being here is, in many ways, a blessing that I would wish for anyone who wanted it. Because the city, the place where we've all been encouraged, seduced, forced to live, is obviously a place where the system has designed itself such that fear and control is far easier to bestow upon good people than it is out here. So, that would be a really first prize for everybody, to have land, to have freedom from, if they wanted it, autonomy, anarchy, freedom to do within natural law pretty much whatever they want with their lives, and assurance of shelter and food. Speaking of which, what do you think of my sweet potato bed? I'm becoming increasingly, what's the word, connected to this garden back here. This is my playground, or one of my playgrounds. I'm busy digging over some beds here for the winter foods, onions, potatoes, some of the broccolis and things like that. And yeah, I'm just getting some lovely stuff here. But of course, I only adopted this garden mid-July, and I do feel like my part of my purpose, aside from creating shelter, is to ensure food security for the people around me. And this is the beginnings of that. This is my garden. I could show you around a little bit more. I did promise that in my last video, but I guess I've been reticent because, you know, there's one of the things I think the system does is it actually robs us of our senses and our true confidence in our creator or creation capacity, capabilities. And so all of the mechanizations or mechanisms of the system, when they're taken from you, your ability to travel, your ability to pay for things, your ability to secure essential aspects of a comfortable life in which you're not scrabbling, you're not in lack. When you don't have these securities, then your foundation is poor. And upon a poor foundation, not much can be built. But we're heading towards 2 months in Portugal now, and thanks to the kindness of Dan and Vanessa, their hospitality here, what you're probably starting to see is a rather amazing place, which is, I should say, hewn out of neglected forests and mountains and terraces and lands that were once productive and are now in the main, left to rot. So what has been created here has taken a lot of time and effort and money and love. So these things, for me anyway, I've got to that point where I'm starting to feel like, I can also attain or achieve a well-rooted base, a well-rooted stability upon which perhaps massive, magnificent creations can be manifested and brought to life. Not by myself or for myself so much as by peoples of common unity and common objectives, common understanding really of who we are, where we are, and what this place is, or rather what our divine purpose is. Yes, it's a path we can decide not to choose to take, because we've given this experience for free will, with free will. So who's to say? I see one of our watermelons got picked. We've got a few smaller ones down here, and this beauty here is probably going to be next. Pretty cool, huh? Little jewels, just basically nature wants to give us food. All you need to do is love it, care for it, water it, and she will support your endeavor. And so this garden is becoming more productive, and this land has been made productive and can become vastly more so. And the opportunity for people to do that, get involved in that, has to be a part of that. But I think as I was saying before I looked at the garden, my advice to myself would be, and it has been since February 2016, when I had a meeting with Andrea and my friend Clint. Leave your phones in the house, we're going to go and talk in the garage. Clint wrote in the dust of my garage window. I used to do all that woodworking in there. It was all dusty, and I left the date because he'd scrawled the date on the window. It was 14 February 2016, and I said, shit's happening, there's stuff going to go down, we have to prepare for it, we have to build the ark, and we have to also consider where the high land is. And since then I have been of the view that finding high land is a good idea, whether it's because there's a flood or whether it's because the system can't control people because there's so many of them, unless they're really tanked up in a small cage like a city. So towns as well, of course, because people are so much kind of going along in the main with things. The towns are fairly easy to wrap up, but here in the mountains it's nigh on impossible to manage people. So I think, even if we're just, we're not too deeply kind of conspiratorial, and so simply it's just, this beast system or this corrupt system of corporatocracy that is looking to control people in the easiest way. This is not possible when you dwell out here, to a large extent. Not impossible, but to a large extent it would be like if there's forest, if there's fires, if there's a huge fire here in Portugal, they'll send firemen from all over the region to attend that fire. And the same is true with the policing. If people are going to go down we need to stand up and riot. Much as I love Jason and support his and anyone's actions on this COVID Light tour, which I could have joined, I also know that this is part of the plan, to create the so-called anarchy, the type of anarchy that people in the main think that it's about rioting and looting and calling on the government, pleading with the government to review its rulings and recommendations and guidelines and requests to put ourselves under house arrest, and to I can't breathe ourselves into a state of delirium. I don't know, but the government or the protestations by the populace are very much part of the plan. So if that, for me anyway, so if that brings the expected chaos, then those that want to bring about their order will have to put their resources where they're most effective and most needed, which will be where the crowds are. So there's no crowds here, generally. But I was reminded last night that actually, in some ways it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters at all, and I'm not trying to put any fear into anybody about, should you be on higher ground, should you be by the ocean and stuff like that, because you know, if this beautiful space was, this piece of land that I'm standing on right now, was to be transported instantly to a location 2 miles from the ocean or overlooking the ocean or something like that, I would snap that up in a heartbeat, I suppose. Because, I mean, assuming it didn't mean that all of a sudden I was going to have hundreds of cars driving past all the time, and you know, tourists wandering over the land, assuming those things, then I would say yes, please. So I'm not trying to say, oh, there's a right or a wrong place to be. I am, though, thinking that the right place to be actually is within each of us. You know, that's the right place to be. So I'm not saying don't prepare the ark. Prepare your ark in the way that is right for you. But be preparing that ark. Be preparing the temple, the soul within, or take good care. It doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, I never do this, or I don't eat that, or I don't drink this, or I don't, never do this thing, because your temple, your body is a fantastic machine avatar, and it will handle a little bit of enjoyment and pleasure of some of the wonderful things that we are given here, the opportunity to enjoy. We are given senses by our Creator for a reason. We have those senses stolen from us when we were very young for a reason. And they continue to do that. Oh, you can't eat this. It's really, really tasty. And it may be good for you too, but you can't eat that. Or you shouldn't enjoy that because it's kind of bad for you. Well, so long as you aren't in gluttony, as long as you aren't in all these kind of deadly sin type kind of mind states, then yeah. Don't you realize that when this avatar ends and you return to the source, you can no longer taste things. You can no longer sense things. You can no longer feel and enjoy the color of these green leaves, for example. Yeah? And the produce that will come out from the ground from these sweet potatoes. You can no longer have the scent, the smell of a fine cooking meal. As I walked up to the dome last night, Andrea and the other ladies here had been preparing a really fine meal, and wow, the smell of that, and then the taste of it, and the feel of the different textures and so on. Isn't this part of the joy of life and the purpose of being here, is to have all of these joys, have all of this experience? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's to do so with your senses fully intact. If I offered a partially blind person the opportunity to see something in full color, to see something, 4K rich or whatever, would they want that? Would they take that? Yes. But if you were only ever told them that their level of sight is all that they had, and that was all was possible, they'd come to terms with that. And they'd be like, yeah, well, that's all I can see, and that's all we can see, so it's all good. But if you approach them later on and said, hey, I've got a way for you to be able to see in 4K, and they're going, no, the docs told me I can't ever see like in 4K, so don't tell me that. And I believe that all I can see is this black and white blurry sort of thing that I've got. Well, even if you bring him a friend who said, yes, I had the same sight impediment that you do, and I used this information, and wow, life is brighter, life is crisper, life is clearer. I can see these colors now with a richness and a vibrancy that never existed before. Still, the partially sighted man would say, hey, what does it matter? I can pretty much see everything just as good as you can, so I don't need the extra color in my life. And why? Why would the system trick us? Why would the system why would they steal our senses? Why would they take our senses from us? What would be the purpose of that? Why the lie? What does it matter? And why the lie? Well, firstly, if it didn't matter, no need to lie, right? So it does matter. And they have lied. So why does it matter? To keep us in a cage, maybe, to keep us prisoners, to keep us working for a slave dollar, fiat currencies, and, subjectation to, this, fancy dress business of monarchy and, institution. Maybe. But really, all the evidence weighed so far. All the experiences so far leave me in no doubt that there's two primary possibilities, really. One is, it's like the biblical Satan, devil, Lucifer, maybe, archetype of misleading God's children and wanting to, if you like, stick two fingers up to God, to damage, God's perfect creation, to ruin it, to spoil it for as long as possible, until such time as God came in and did the wheat and tares clearance job on the land. I've been doing a bit of clearance jobs on the land. Actually, I'll tell you, my hands and legs bearing the scars of that fantastic effort. The other option is less frightening, I suppose. Less, ooh, there's this bad guy and he's trying to fuck you up. No, what about if you had almost like a divine intention from the start to say, hey, well, look, I'm going to go in and have a test and see whether I can come through that. I can make my way through this miasma of madness, sorry, I lost my thread there, but that's the other option, perhaps, that we are being tested. And if we fail the life test and we go on, we pass it on and something else happens, well, so be it. But I used to be of the view, it doesn't matter. Why would it matter what you do with your life and so on? And to some, I think in many extents, it doesn't matter. But if you set yourself this life test of, hey, you're going to get in there, you're going to be seduced by myriad madnesses, the challenge to you is, can you see your way back to yourself, or are you going to stay stuck in these things? Still to have the enjoyable life experiences and so on, but are you, because that's the thing, isn't it? Oftentimes you get into these sort of cult mindsets where, oh, you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that, you're not allowed to do this, and so on. Natural law applies, but love of self and respect of self is where it starts, or where it ends. And once we have that, then perhaps we can get to this point of loving, or achieving this, winning this, or attaining this ambition, or this life test of finding the way back to yourself, finding the way back to love. I don't know. It's obviously, there's so much we don't know, but it feels certain that we're meant to attain kind of, or move towards the divinity that we come from, rather than be trapped in whoever's creation this sort of not the material, I think the material is intended, you know, it's great to have this experience. Can you hear the running water behind me? It's great to have this experience. And we should love it. We should cherish it. We should, you know, we should give it all of our good heart, you know. But the seduction of the madness is so easy to misunderstand or allow into your life, whilst you don't realize how deviously clever the tricks have been to play it, to keep us in, to draw us into, or to retain us from, or to stop us remembering who we are, and to prevent us from getting to, you know, that inner path that is honoring of the self. Because if, you know, some ideas are that I hold on or think about are, you know, the creation is from within, and so in you, and I saw this in the DMT, in you is God, the source, the creator. That camera's a bit close to my face, sorry. The creator is in you. And somehow we're dishonoring the creator. You, yourself. You know, I'm not saying, oh, some dude, white beard and all that. You're dishonoring yourself when you are caught up in those 7 deadly sins. Do you remember, if you've been around the channel for a while, I did a bit on the 7 heavenly virtues, or the 4 cardinal virtues. I was reminded that these are not actually biblical text, and that doesn't trouble me at all. When you read the cardinal virtues, you know, you go, that's what a real man or a real woman, divine being, should be seeking to embody, emulate. So, you know, and again, just to remind you, I don't kind of come at it from that, oh, it's all goody and, you know, shamanic music all day long. You've got to do what's right for you, but you do it in a way that is honoring who you truly are. You are not an evolved monkey. You are not, you know, this Darwinian slime that somehow survived major explosions to come out the most beautifully created piece of architecture that could be beyond our own imaginings. So, you know, we are not animals. The consciousness of animals and of plants and so on is all part of our same consciousness. But in terms of carrying the Christ light, the God light, the Creator light, the essence of all that is, and so on, I have to say that's reserved for the Creator's creation, created in the Creator's image. I only try and apply logic. I try not to get caught up in dogma. You know, what I've experienced, you know, I didn't want to take creationism or a God or anything like that. I didn't want to take that until 2015 DMT. I didn't. Vehemently resisted. Angrily resisted, perhaps, because I was like so angry with how humanity has fucked itself. No, that's not true. Humanity is actually really awesome, really good, but totally deceived, totally robbed of its senses, of its true sense of self, sense of movement. Oh yeah, I'm spinning right now. That light that seems to be moving towards me is actually stationary far away, and I'm just rolling towards it. Senses are stolen from you, and they make you wear sunglasses telling you that it's not good to look into the sun in controlled way. The primary energy source that we've created, or the Creator created for this wonderful Eden, to exist. This highly productive plane. Let me just give you a little bit of a shot of the plane out there. You know, that is plain. And so humanity is further being moved from its true self. We've spoken about grounding and rubber on soles, and how that we never earth ourselves anymore, how we don't look at the sun and the moon, how we don't engage with the natural cycle of the way things are. Sunglasses, hats, earbuds, mask, and the gloves for some people. Pretty much finally removing the last vestiges of senses from humanity. So, you know, it's I guess I'm really not like angry with humanity for being lied to. You know, I'm not even really, you know, when I think about it, because I've been sad and upset and what have you about the deception and the horror wrought on the human avatar through the experience of these last centuries, but also, of course, what's going on in the world now. So I've wept for that, but I'm no longer angry with it. I'm no longer like upset about it, more resigned to what it is. I've held a respectful distance from loved ones and friends, because my energy says to speak the truth, be truthful, be honorable, much as I can be. And my family think that it's a dishonor to say things that fly so far in the face of public understanding or misunderstanding of the way the world is. So, you know, with that said, I realize that, or I feel that, the journey we're meant to take, each of us is perhaps divinely intended. So no right or wrong journey. And where you be at this time matters less than where you are in your own heart. Okay, so I think that's so much more important, that we're in a loving space. We're not hating on those people who can't or won't, or the system that definitely won't be changing in any way that is truly beneficial to the good of the every man, the every woman. You know, natural law applying and free access to the vast resources that are being held in the speaking dead, the corporation, held by them. So, you know, I feel like things are as they're meant to be. The dominoes are falling, and the game will play out as has been intended. And the best that each of us can do is to be holding that loving space. But I think I kind of lost a thread earlier on when I was saying, you know, I do feel like people are meant to stand up. Yeah, people are meant to stand up. People are meant to see the toppling of the systems. This is astrological as well. They're meant to see the toppling of the natural toppling of the system. This is known. This is why Gates and all these other cronies have been hung out as, you know, little punch bags or Punch and Judy kind of punch bags for people to throw stones at. You know, the vaccination agenda, of course, is also about weaponizing people's anarchists. They're kind of willing to rise up, because nothing brings about new order and new rules faster than chaos, right? I mean, think about how many rules are around today from that event on another September day back in 2001. You know, the world was changed, although, you know, our lives went on as normal. And I think perhaps in some people's cases, this world is going to change. Even obviously, it's changing and changed much more so. But they will kind of go on, shrug their shoulders, and take the various impositions with a sort of cheerful hey ho. You know, we're British or we're American. We're you know, we'll do our patriotic bit or whatever. And that'll be how some people react, and they'll be angry about those other people who are going out and saying it's all bollocks. And then, you know, you have to expect there, though, to be some kind of call for an uprising, a change, or there is a call for an uprising being headed up by the likes of David Icke and Piers Corbyn. You know, I think just like the Q thing, it's like, you know, yeah, you're going to get, you know, you need to demand this change from the system, and the system is outside of you. You know, so whilst you're protesting for the system to change, you're not realizing that the change is you. The system isn't meant to change. Perhaps it's, like I said earlier, it's a game that we were set up to come and play, so it needs to play its role and create all of this division and separation, anger, anguish, heartache, in order to create the life lessons, in order to distill out, you know, the people who can take humanity, consciousness, and, you know, a way of living to something different. Because let's be honest, friends, you can't actually have a city full of 1 million people and not have an infrastructure management system. And when there's 1 million people, the way that people have been brought into the system in this sort of Darwinian period that we live in, we're all animals and we're just scrabbling to kind of make our own sort of ends meet or whatever. In that case, people are not anywhere near prepared for a life of autonomy, a life of anarchy, as they say, or a life of sovereign kind of divine understanding. It is a long journey. It's a journey for me, and a journey for, I'm sure, everybody else who's walking this way. Some have been walking longer and less time, but, you know, it is a real journey, and you've got to. You don't take someone out of the city today and tomorrow, or I shouldn't even say the city, out of the system's indoctrination program. You don't take them out of that today and tomorrow they're, you know, this divinely inspired soul in touch with nature, in touch with the natural rhythms and harmony of the world, of you know, of nature. You know, willing to eschew all of the many of the trappings of you know, that the system offers to keep people in a sense that, you know, we're evolving, we're going in a good direction. So that's the one aspect. The other is, of course, if you took away all policing and governance sort of overnight and said, all right, you guys are pretty decent fellas, chaps, and, you know, and, you know, you can take care of things yourself. Well, we know that the other version of anarchy that people like to popularize, the version of running around with sticks and stones and thuggery, well, that would probably follow. So, you know, it's unrealistic to expect that you can't have some kind of citywide governance, and that citywide governance is going to be swayed by vested interests. It's going to be pushed along by, you know, the various factions that you know, all claim to have, you know, this major axe to grind with the system, whether it be for the way that police treat people, or the way that the medical system works, or the way that you know, color or race, as it's called, is used to subjugate or empower certain groups. All of these things will continue to make people feel like, they're a social justice warrior trying to, save the planet, or, help reduce. There are many people who think that, there's too many humans on Earth, and we still have even though, governments, they do lie and they that, but there are too many people on Earth, aren't they? And, climate change and all these other things that we need to, and humans are this and that. Well, as I said earlier, I think humans are awesome, actually. But they're so badly deceived that it's like 10 beautiful puppies in a cage. You feed them just 3 dogs food, and by the time they're 6 months old, they are vermin. There would be horrible dogs. And some would be like, going out and biting everybody, and others would be cowering in the corner, shivering in front of the TV, waiting for the latest update on COVID-19. That's the dog version of COVID, obviously, yeah. So, which is obviously very, 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 very contagious, and except when they're eating. Perhaps if they get into drinking alcohol as well, COVID wouldn't trouble them then. Sometimes they can get together in groups to protest against the government, because the government doesn't want that kind of protest, but that's a good time to get together. But if they want to get in groups, say, to mourn the loss of a loved one, or to celebrate the new arrival in a family, well, that's really, really high risk COVID territory right there. So best to be avoided. Just our guidance, but if you don't take our guidance, we will start to issue eventually larger and larger fines. Not because we're trying to profit and control you, we're actually just trying to protect the NHS, who have been on the longest holiday in their recorded history. Anyway, I digress. My friends, humans are beautiful, but we have been. So I don't want to claim like I know it all. I do not know it all. But when I discovered that 9/11 was a false flag, I realized that it was very important that there was a level of collusion and misdirection or whatever, propaganda, whatever. There was a level of that I'd never imagined possible in the world. And for me, that really was a massive awakening. And so I realized the importance of that and the significance to how much credence I was to give voting. I'd worked in elections. I was to give voting these politicians. The entirety, in fact, of the establishment that I'd once kind of held as a, it's a nice thing to have, and so on. All of this had to be put under the spotlight and be held in question. And as you started to question all this and look into this, you realize it's a cesspit, and that really matters. Knowing that the systems of state, taxation, medical care, religion, all of these things are misdirection. They use good stuff, and there's some good stuff in them, but ultimately a misdirection. So it became important for me to share that with my family. But my family prefer to say, well, it doesn't really, it's probably unlikely, and even if it does, it doesn't really matter. Even if it was an inside act. But most people who've walked down those rabbit holes of the Salomon Brothers building 7, and all of those other things about the Pentagon and so on, the Bush family and all of these things, that the game is rigged, and you want your loved ones to know that the game is rigged, because
We don't know exactly what to do with that, but at least we know we're being deceived, so we start looking for other answers. So it is with all the information that I've filtered over the years, is that it all has to be filtered through the lens of someone who can see that. But when you get given like additional lenses to see things like the flat Earth, or rather, that Earth can't be a rolling rock, third rock from the spinning sun, and all that. When you see that, then you get given greater powers of inner standing and of the realization of the depth and the magnitude and perhaps even the significance of the deception. And on this note, I have to say that I feel that flat Earth is obviously not the be-all and end-all of all truth, and it's not something that, like 9/11, you need to spend eons of time researching, because once you know that water doesn't turn into balls, uncontained balls of water, you no longer need to kind of exercise yourself too much on reinforcing that obvious proof. Water level. What's beyond all of that? Well, that's all hypothetical and theoretical, so let's not lose ourselves on the things we can't know. But what we can know is that we are the primary purpose here, the primary reason for all that is. In fact, we may be the only reason that all that is. The old saying, if no one hears a tree fall in the forest, does it make any sound? Well, what if there's no creators here? Does this earth, does this realm, does this electromagnetic experience that I can witness in front of me, touch, feel, taste, smell, walk over, does this all go away? If we lose the game, does creation in the form of earth at the material level dissolve? Maybe. And maybe then there's a new Big Bang, a new creation made in 7 days or whatever. Maybe. And if that's to be how it is to be, then let it be. I'm not fearful of that. We are one, we are eternal, and the washing machine just keeps turning on these 24,000 year cycles, apparently. So, but I'm compelled to work towards goodness and creation, natural creation, in harmony with my surroundings and with my village. And I guess that's the best that I can bring. I will never change the system. I won't beg the system to change itself. I tried all of that. But I hope to change myself, change my strengthen my roots. Build a strong foundation and create whatever is intended to come. I have spoken for a long time, but I guess it has been a long time since I spoke. Family's doing well, thank you for asking. Alexander's really adapting to life in the heat. He's naked most of the time. We have finished off this pool at Dan's. I've been sitting next to the little waterfall that we fashioned there with a little solar panel. Yesterday I got some river plants, which I have just, obviously, well, yesterday I planted them in. I put them in. So we will see how they do. This is the idea here, is to go for a self-cleaning pool that doesn't need chemicals. So we're going to move the water. I've called this section ZZ Pool. We're going to move the water around, put it through these filtration systems, if you like, and then hopefully the product that comes out the end is super clean. But this is a nice little pool. We dug it out. We've got a slightly deeper section, which you may not be able to tell from there. Nice little rock pool. I really hope I get to do a few more of these. I'm hoping to work on a project, or there's a project in the offing, which is very exciting for me, actually, to work with Jack and Dan to fabricate a small dwelling, a dwelling that's small enough that not to require planning permission. This would possibly entail putting in an internal mezzanine floor and a bed on that, and a kitchen and a little outdoor sort of bathroom arrangement, perhaps a septic tank, perhaps arrange water, and get the land an electric connection, such that the guy can come out with his partner and start a life out here. I guess he's in a more fortunate position than many, where he's maybe able to upfund such a project. So maybe the universe is encouraging me to go that way, because it feels like an awesome thing to do, to be able to help people make a move out if that's what they want to do. I'm constantly conscious that not everybody's fortunate enough to be able to sell up their system assets and seek something more autonomous. So I'm also hopeful that I can set up something to... Oh, hey! Come say hello. I'm just going to finish off this video, and I haven't actually mentioned to people that you're here if you want to say hello. Oh, yeah. No, you'll oh, tomorrow? Yeah. All right. Well, you'll have to... I'll have to leave that for another day. I won't tell you who that was. Yeah, but I know that there's a lot of people who are like desperate to get out but don't necessarily have the means. So I guess I'll just share some of my thinking. If you're still listening this far in, you're hopefully still interested in what I'm thinking. I think that the system is going to become less and less a pleasant place to live, work, and create. And in time, perhaps the establishment of little villages, little informal villages, if you like, of people who are wanting to live naturally. None of the fear stuff, none of the we can make each other sick stuff, or any many of the other burdensome aspects of the way things are going. And so I feel like to be in a position eventually to offer people like a halfway house. Come and spend some time at a place. You'll get shelter and food if that's what's needed, and the opportunity to experience this, because for me anyway, the true road back to nature is one in which you come back to the land and adopt the land, husband or care for the land and the production of the land. I think that feels to me like the right thing to do. Everybody has their skill set, so people would perhaps find one area or a few areas of life more or less enjoyable. But I think it's worth having the opportunity to kind of dip your toe in the water and use the opportunity to create something for yourself. For each of us needs, I think, that. So those are my thoughts, that we have the opportunity maybe to start doing land reclamation and low cost or low entry level homesteads for people looking to make the breakaway. Dan has had a number of inquiries. I was talking to a guy, really nice guy yesterday, down at the river where I got these plants from. Roger, English guy, and he's in exactly the same boat. Him and his partner and two lovely daughters are renting a place nearby and are looking to buy. And I know my friend Dave Trev and his partner Sam are in the same kind of boat. So that's just a few people that I know, and I know obviously many others we've met along the way have expressed strong desire to find a different way. One of the advantages of life here is that land is super cheap. Morning, Dan. Land is super cheap, so it doesn't have to cost the earth to pull some of these projects off, to create temporary homes for people, perhaps to create a village with its own coffee shop and its own veggie shop and baked goods shop and all other sorts of things. Like a little village, a little place where people can congregate, can kind of do certain kinds of jobs that they might want to do or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to call time there. I think I've kept you long enough. I hope this conversation has been useful. I'm sorry that it has taken me this long. Well, I'm sorry, but it is what it is, that I haven't really had the oomph, and I've been putting my effort into other things. It's a big commitment. Our daughter's in England. Our dog, we still have to go and collect her. And Lukey still wants to go back to university in Bournemouth and probably have to wear a mask for his time on campus, etc., etc. I would rather he was able to stay with us longer term until we know how this year is going to play out. But it is what it is, and I have to surrender to the unfolding. It's been almost a year, friends, since we left the house. I'm sure it's not been for nothing. I'm sure that we are creators and we have the potential to be our own masters, truly. Perhaps for the first time in living memory. There's lots yet to unfold, so we'll see. So be well and stay well, and I wish you luck and love, and I hope that I look forward to us all achieving, hopefully the outcomes that we seek for ourselves, and a return to self-empowerment, whatever form of self-empowerment David Icke and all these others are going to offer, you know, when the system has a reset, perhaps, and then there's like, oh yeah, you've got all these truth speakers, you know, they even now talk about the flat earth, right? Well, that doesn't really help the collective understand her divinity, her divine essence and connection to the source, that all that is, you know. Oh, people are fixating on aliens eating, you know, babies and all this sort of stuff. They're out there. They're in the madness. So don't be fooled. At the end of the days, people will be fooled, even among the elect. Matthew 24:24. But don't be fooled. There are no saviors coming from the system. Much as you might love Trump, much as you might love Ike, you know. I'm not saying that David Icke is intentionally controlled, but there is a certain miasma that exists with that man that reduces his ability to see, or at least speak on our sovereignty, such in a divine way, you know, in a divine way. So David Icke taught me a lot, but teachers are only teachers. They are not you. You should be your master, your head. And really, while we're lost in the Ikes and stuff, we might just as well be listening to Cox, Brian Cox, and Mishu Yishu Kaku. Anyway, guys, it's probably getting towards 9 o'clock. I fancy a coffee. I've got to go and water that garden. And I hope to speak to you again soon. But take care.